For 1 second.
In 2 months. Let me turn my sound off.
We're live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is November 6th. It's a Thursday, and I'd like to call this Shade meeting to order. Lauren?
Don't do the pledge.
And we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance now. Did we forget last time?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Statement of adequate notice. Pursuant to the Sunshine Law, adequate notice in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act was provided on January 3rd, 2025 of this meeting's date, time, place, and the agenda was mailed to the news media, posted on the Township Bulletin Board, mailed to those requesting personal notice, and filed with the municipal clerk. Now we'll move on to roll call. Ms. Easton.
Present.
Ms. Irons.
Present.
Ms. Johnson.
Present.
Ms. Arthur Letterman's excused absent, and Ms. Bouquet absent. Thank you.
Okay, New Jersey Shade Tree Federation membership.
The minutes.
Gosh, I'm rusty. I
No.
apologize. Okay, the
You're okay.
minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at and review the minutes from September 4th? I did, and unless anybody has a correction or edit, I'd like to move to accept the minutes into the record.
I have one comment on the community outreach for Cranberry School,
What page?
page 2.
Got it.
Community outreach for Cranberry School. It says, you explain that we have the school plans to collaborate with us on planting trees once the construction's over.
Mhm.
And I don't remember hearing that, just so I thought we should mention that.
Okay, I'm gonna mention again
Yes,
in
that's-
today's agenda. That's a good idea. Yeah, this is something that on Arbor Day, Ms. Disler approached us and said, because we wanted to coordinate something with them regarding climate change curriculum, and she said that they'd like to work with us on the specific project, which is planting trees on the campus going forward, but not until the construction is done. And I don't know when that will be. Does anybody have an idea?
I think they have goals, but but with the construction company, I don't know the exact.
Okay, if
when
anybody hears anything, send an email to us. I'm just curious if they do have a realistic
Yeah, I'm
um,
not sure.
finish time since we're going into the holidays here.
We could probably plan on a year from now. Well, the fall next of 26 probably, because by the time they get done, even if it's a spring, it'll take a while to
Yeah,
figure out. So the fall of 26 at the earliest,
But
probably,
that
which
sounds
would
good.
be a good time to.
Yeah, so maybe we put on the calendar for our June meeting that we discuss that again and we check in with Ms. Disler and see where they are. If we can, because it would maybe start with the new kids, or not new kids, but that the next school season, 26, 27 is what you're saying.
Right.
Maybe that would be the kids we'd be working with.
Right.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else on the minutes?
No, I accept.
Do you want a second?
Make a motion to accept.
Okay, I second. With that change, or not change, but with that note. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so, NJ Shade Tree Federation membership, we pay the annual dues, which are now up to $150. And, I guess you'll get the email. Lauren will get the email that, and we also now participate and are members of the New Jersey Forestry Association, which are the folks who offer the backyard forestry programs on the third Thursday of each month, generally. I did go to the drone one. Did anyone else go? That's the one we
Yes.
watched, right? Yes, Jackie and I went to the.
it was awesome.
Yes, it was pretty awesome. I was surprised about how I learned. I wasn't expecting that exactly, but it was very good. And Jackie and I can't remember what did we that we would get this guy who isn't even in state to come survey the town for us. The survey, the drones do a lot. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
Can do
yeah.
it.
Well, it's up in Sussex County.
Oh, that's
They
right.
had spongy moth problem big time, and homeowners, a lot of homeowners up there own like 50 acres or 500 acres of the forest.
Yeah.
And so it costs a fortune to have the airplanes come by and spread insecticide. So these two guys got together with drones, and they can do smaller forests, and they can get really low. And so it's more effective. They can go 1.5 feet above the trees and wave and, up and down. And
Yeah, and
so
hit targets
and money wise too, it's a lot more affordable for them. Then so I guess this was the first year they used it, and it was really good. The previous year, a lot of people had lost major parts of their forests from the spongy moth,
yeah,
which is a new name for
gypsy moth.
Gypsy
Gypsy moth is
moth.
the new name for gypsy moth. If you don't know, I don't know if they did the Latin change too, or just the common name. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was really because with the drones they could do very targeted
Right.
applications, and it wasn't like everywhere. So it works for small forests. So I don't think we have a spongy moth problem in Cranberry that I'm aware of, but it's good to keep them in mind should we have a spongy moth problem going forward. And we also learned about the spongy moth and its life cycle to some extent. And I believe, yes, all of the backyard forestry webinars are available to watch afterwards. You won't get the CE for it, but you can watch it. I believe they're up on their site. So anyway, we'll continue as well as the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation membership, also we'll continue with our New Jersey Forestry Association membership. And that's why on the budget sheet that we passed out, we're asking for $225 to cover that. That's an extra like $15 because I'm wondering if New Jersey Shade Tree Federation, NJFA might raise their dues from 60 to 75. So I allowed for that and I added $15 more. And Shade Tree Federation, which used to be 90, is 150 now. That's where we are with that. And while I'm talking about Shade Tree Federation, don't forget their resource. You can call them for information. I called about the site for some kind of canopy measurement, which I'll get to. And also, they're just really helpful in directing if you have a question about something related to forestry or the management plan. New Jersey, well, that's actually New Jersey Shade Tree Federation. And I can tell you that next year's conference is going to be in Cherry Hill. So I wanted to let you know about that in advance. Okay, Cranberry Day. Barbara or Jackie, do you want to talk about that? Shireen's not here. I was going to give that to her.
Oh,
She's not
okay.
here. So
Well,
yeah, it was,
Barbara
go
was
ahead.
with
And
us
yes,
also.
Barbara was there. And
Yeah, Barbara actually was there all day long. I got there to set up, and then I took time away, and then I came back to clear everything.
It's a
before
long
the
day.
Pouring rain showed up. But it was fun, and we had a lot of interaction. A lot of parents came with younger children, trying to get. Some of the kids would be interested, and some wanted to just move on. But it's always a fun day.
Do you have comments, Barbara?
Yeah, and I like that the Boy Scout leader reached out to you and then
Oh,
there was a
yes.
follow-up. So it not only answered me some questions, but.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me of that because I forgot to if you guys are done about Cranberry Day, I should report on that too because that was the very next weekend. Everything was happening so quickly.
Mhm.
A Boy Scout leader reached out. They were having a Boy Scout jamboree and they wanted to do nature badges. And so Jackie and I made a table the following Saturday at Cranberry Brook Preserve. Why don't you talk about that?
The one thing, it was the Cub Scouts.
Thank you.
The
Cub
younger,
Scouts.
up to
Cub
fourth
Scouts.
grade or fifth grade. But a lot of the Cubs were just being introduced to scouting, but there were Girl Scouts there too, which I was happy to see. I think in the older group, the Girl Scouts have their own troop, but the Cubs include the Girl Scouts, so that makes it easier for some of the families. But the kids were amazingly interested. Kathy and I split the time up. We had like 5 groups for 30 or
For
40
30 minutes, and
30
then 5
minutes.
groups for 30
Yeah,
minutes.
by the
each.
time we got to the last group, it was exhausting.
Well, we would do something at the table.
Yeah, we did something at the table first and talked about
We had
insects
pictures. Mhm.
and, like made sure they all knew what to identify poison ivy. But we talked about good bugs and bad bugs. And, they had a very negative, most of them, impression about insects. So we let them know the majority of insects are fine. But then when they were done with that, Kathy led them over to a field, and I've never seen this done before. I thought it was so cool. Kathy would just wave her hand on the top of the grasses or the wild plants, and all the insects would fly up. It would disturb them. I thought that was really cool. But anyway,
If I had an insect nest, I could have caught some, but I had to just use the pretend wand there.
But that part again, they were just amazed, and some of them wanted to go right in there, and we wouldn't let them do that. But they learned a lot, and we did get a letter from the scout leader.
Yes, we
thanking
did,
us.
inviting us to do something like
Yes,
that
again.
again, and we will if we're invited. Even though it was last minute, we were able to pull cranberry did table stuff and have it there, and then also having the actual being in the meadow, seeing the insects. We had several butterflies that day. We had some interesting insects, but it's amazing to me how many kids and parents did not know what poison ivy looks like. So we had a poison ivy ID sheet that showed in its different stages, and we went and we showed each group what poison ivy looks like. And it was kind of astonishing to me that the scouts didn't know how to. Some of them did. Oh, we also had an assistant. And now that was an older scout. Is that correct?
Right,
He was
right.
a Boy
He was a
Scout.
Boy Scout,
Okay.
yes.
We had a Boy Scout
He
who
was
was
great.
earning service hours, and he was very knowledgeable, very knowledgeable. And occasionally he would just look at me and say, "I'll take this," and he would answer. He would answer the question, and he also was very enthusiastic. And so we really did have a great time that day, and we hope everyone learned a lot. And that was the Saturday after Cranberry Day. I'm not sure, and I hope we have some pictures. I'll have to get those pictures to you. Cranberry Trees, Yes Please Library Program. It wasn't terribly well attended, but we had a very lively discussion with some residents about their specific tree issues and in general about the ordinance, which is part of a state mandated stormwater management plan, but also that it's important to know for us to know or to confirm that the residents using a licensed arborist. That's another reason. Someone had effectively it was a dead tree because he called the utility company. Instead of taking the tree down, they just took the whole canopy off and left like a 15, 18-foot stump. So he had to have that removed. And yes, he did get an application, but only so that it was clear that he was using a licensed arborist, because it is the law. Because if you don't use a licensed arborist and something happens, the homeowner is liable for everything. And that's another law, actually. It's another state law that you can only use LTEs or LTCOs to do tree work in your yard. So I believe that there was some encouragement to do another program, and we're planning on doing one in the spring as well.
We talked about that. Yeah, definitely one in the spring and one in the fall every year, because word of mouth too will spread. But the one in the Heritage Park, they definitely said, "Oh, it'd be great to do this in the spring."
Yeah, I'm going to ask if we could just move the tree walk in Heritage Park up here just below the Cranberry Trees Yes Please program.
Yes.
And we'll just move that there for now. And Jackie and Barbara can report on that as well. That was just this past Saturday.
The first.
Yeah.
November 1st.
So one of our residents made a suggestion we all fell in love with, and this was an arboretum, or let me put it in his words, label the trees with their names. We made out of this idea an arboretum, but to be faithfully to him, just to label the trees. And then we brainstormed, like, if the scouts could create such labels, or if we buy them. So there are so many options we could make this idea a reality. Yeah,
Yes.
so that was really, it was a wonderful reunion at Heritage Park.
Right, it was. And one of the residents that came up with that suggestion offered to pay for making the labels.
So we have to coordinate with parks because nothing goes in parks, without letting them know or talking to them. And they may have a specific kind of label in mind. I'd like to get something similar to are you familiar with Groucho Sculpture and the signs they have below the trees? Because they're long lasting. I don't know that the scouts could put this together. We'd have to have them done somewhere. But another place that has labels, but they're different, is at the Mercer Educational Gardens. And I don't know about the Middlesex County Educational Gardens, what kind of labels they have. But we could look at all of those, since those are, they got a lot of different labels. And we wouldn't label every tree, but one of each species. And there's a lot of repeating trees. But I think it's a great idea. I'd let them to coordinate with parks. And Heritage Park is a good one to start with. It has more specimen trees, I think. Plus, that's the walking route for everybody. Anything else about the tree walk?
It was also a very thoughtful idea to combine the tree walk with giving honor and reverence to the memorials. So this was a nice combination. We could repeat next fall as well.
Yeah, and there's a new memorial that was not a couple new memorials since the last time we did a walk at Heritage Park, but specifically there's the new this crane sculpture, that memorial, which is brand new. Well, thank you so much. You also got great weather. And I got feedback from two of the people who were there who said it was great. They learned so much. When are we having the next one? So I can't wait till fall, probably, maybe the spring.
Well, the spring, I think definitely in the spring we
Okay.
would get, because a lot of the trees will be in bloom. Like the trees are in bloom. Of course, spring is a busy time for everyone too, but it would be worth, we and I planned on an hour in it, and after an hour and a half, I said, okay, let's leave.
Yeah, that's about the right amount of time, and
Right.
you can walk the whole park easily in that time.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
that works out.
Definitely.
Okay, so community forestry management plan, volunteer hours. Okay, I'm going to report my hours. I'm calculating them, but what I'm going to do right now is just give you my CE.
Okay.
Which is 1.5 hours. That's all I could find in this last quarter, in September. So 1.5 hours, and it was the drone. Let me tell you specifically what it was called. Let me see. It was called. I don't know.
I have it because it was back.
Was it in September?
No, but it was October 16th, backyard in 90 minutes, the drones over New Jersey, better forest, farm and land management.
It was the 16th? Huh.
That's what I have written down.
Oh, I know. I was away and I watched it on my phone. That's what it was. That's
That's
what I couldn't
right.
remember because I was away.
That's right.
And, but I was still able to attend. So that's it. 1.5 hours. And I'll report all my hours soon, within the year.
Okay.
I'll get back to you. Thanks.
All right.
Next.
SF4. No, C.
Wait, sorry.
4.
4. Got it. Thank you.
So, just to reassure myself, volunteers hours include work sessions, cranberry day,
Tree walk, prep for the tree walk if you did any printing
Yeah.
out or,
Okay.
putting together.
Very good.
And also include your core hours because that was all for shade tree. You don't get CE, but you get 5 hours of volunteer for that because it was a 5-hour day, wasn't it?
Yes, so I did not include the core training in my volunteer hours, which would be
Oh.
14.5.
Yeah, add those hours, but none of them
Oh.
are CE because core you don't get
okay,
CE,
very good.
but you do still get credit for spending that time down in one city.
Okay, so then it's 19.5 hours of volunteering and 0 education.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
CE is a subset of all the volunteer hours.
Great.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I have 25 and a half volunteer hours, but I didn't add the CE hours into that. I have 4 hours of CEs, and they were setting your trees up for success was one of them. And then
When was that one?
that was 9/18, and that was, I think that was the one from Pennsylvania that I found out about through the Master Gardeners. But they had the person that gave it was from Penn State, I think. I could be wrong. I could look it up, but I don't want this time. We were able to sign up for Master Gardener hours or the shade tree. And so I had to send it in, and say what county I was on, what town and county for
So
the
you did
Shade
it for
Tree Commission.
Yeah,
So-
so you did it for shade tree, not.
So it was for shade tree, yeah. So that one, and then the other one was the drone. So the drone and the, oh, I'm sorry. I have a different, well, the setting up your trees, that must have been the shade. What are the backyard one, the one I just talked about that I got credit with, was tree ID basics, 10 common trees and trees that they get mixed up with. So anyway, it was total of 4
Okay.
CEs.
Lauren, do you know where that puts us CE wise? Because this is coming to the end of the year, we've never struggled to have minimum, it's just been major things this year. I just.
I have them here. It looks like so far Jackie had only reported 3 CEUs. So then adding from today would be 9.5 CEs.
9.5, okay, I think
3 plus 4.
we have 7 and I
It's
have
7.
1.5.
Oh, 8.5.
8.5.
Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
that's fine. I have to look that up. I'm not sure if we still need one. I'm gonna go to whatever the next backyard forestry is, although it hasn't been posted yet. I
No,
couldn't
but they're
find
always
it,
on the
but
3rd Thursday. of the
yeah,
month.
so I'm gonna try and do that. And if, they're pretty good, these webinars generally.
Yeah, they begin at 7 at night,
Yeah.
7 to 8:30.
And they run about an hour and then
An
they have like
hour,
45
and then
minutes or
questions.
so for,
May I ask a question?
yeah.
I attended the Rutgers tree identification course. However, I did not say, oh, please, so I signed up. So there's evidence, but I did not say, oh yeah, I want the
Credit.
credits. I did not say that. And so I attended 2. However, I don't know if this is sufficient in order that they would.
Well, were they for accreditation for your stewardship activity?
They could have given me.
Because you can't,
credits.
because you can get credit for one or the other probably, is what I'm saying, but not
Yeah,
both.
yeah, and you can book those classes individually, so some were certified for pesticides, so all.
So the courses you took, there definitely was a community forestry management plan credit option, but
Yeah.
you didn't select it.
Yeah,
Can you just contact
yes, I could,
the office that provided the CE
yeah,
and get some kind of statement from them or whatever?
so I
And
could
then we
be,
can add that.
yeah, I could be a
course, yeah.
backup. So if we need 1 or 2,
Okay,
I
okay.
mean, then maybe, then they could give me those 1 or 2, and then I could add them in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moving when you, in the future, when you sign up for these courses, when they're Zooms, you give them information and they will ask you, do you need it for this, or this license? And that's when you let them know.
Yeah, I think we're good. If we got 8.5.
Yeah, I think it might be 8 is all we
Sorry about
need.
No, that's fine. No, it's fine. Sorry about
did
our
really quick
recording,
add a whole off.
shortages. It's just been an odd year. Also, no one was able to attend the conference this year for credit.
Right.
Unusual, which is a little unusual for no one to go, but it was one of those years. So I think we're good because I think it's 8, but I'm pretty confident. And what I will do, so let me just jump to this since we're on the community forestry management plan. The annual application is out already. Now we can't file it until we file our Tree City USA application, and that will come in directly to Jerry, who will send it to Lauren, who will alert me, and that will have to be filed first. But I meant to print this out so I can show it to you. Did I? Well, it just came in the email from New Jersey Shade Tree Federation. Did everybody get that email? And in it, you can scroll down, and the AAR, Annual Accomplishment Report application is there. And that's what Laura and I will be filing, whoever works with Laura will be filing. So we'll accumulate all our data. And that includes, if you get more CE this year before the end of the year, even though we're not at a meeting to report it, can you please report it to Lauren and what it was so we have the year completed?
Yes.
If you get any CE before the end of the year. Because we won't file that report until January anyway, even if we fill it out. Because I'm not sure I'll be able to get all the other numbers and figures from the administration for that, but we can get going early on the basic stuff. And it looks like they still haven't changed it up. It looks like it's the same it has been for the past several years. And that email came yesterday from New Jersey Shade Tree Federation. If you didn't get it, I can forward it to you, but you all should be on the list because we're all members of this commission. Tree removal replacement ordinance appendices and application. There's nothing new there. Sharina and I were going to get together to work on all the tabs on the website, and I was hoping to see her today. So I'll work with her, make some kind of plan with her, hopefully before the end of the year, to take a look at that. Jessica and I had done this several years ago. We updated many things, but it's time to do it again. And we have some new things. Community outreach, already Jackie had mentioned that at the September meeting, I said we'd be working with the school at their behest regarding planting trees on campus, which will be the learning opportunity, the educational opportunity for us. And the kids will be involved. I think maybe every class is going to pick a tree or something. I'm not sure, but they'll look to us for recommendations of what species. And of course, it depends on where you're planting it and all of that. So, there were a lot of trees planted along the road on the far side, on the south side of the school when we did the no net loss planting, but I'm not sure they all survived. But anyway, I'm not sure what they have in mind, but they'll let us know because they have all those playing fields out there. So I'm not sure where they're looking to plant, but not until the end of this construction. Cranberry Community. What we reported already on, what we're going to do is another program in the spring, we hope, in the library, as well as a walk. We try to repeat that seasonally so that, so we have some continuity. And all that goes toward earning credits for sustainability, and also looks great on the annual report. I got the pictures from Jackie. Thank you very much from the walk. Barbara, you took the picture, didn't you? Because I don't think I see you in any pictures, Barbara.
No, I tried to get a picture with her.
So, okay, well, anyway, thank you.
And Kathy, one other thing.
Yeah.
That, for this Cranberry Community outreach, I had talked to you about trying to get some door hangers with information for homeowners when they have a tree planted in front of their house. Just so they know what the tree is.
Yeah.
And, we could have standard, tree care.
We can talk more about the tree care thing because I don't.
Project,
yeah, I mean, that would be great if everyone in front of whose house we plant a tree, they would take care of it. But there's no guarantee. But it would be on a case by case basis. But in terms of tree care in general, we do have a template for the door hanger because that was a project we worked on years ago. I hope maybe that in the office somewhere there is still a box that I purchased of all the door hangers, which is it's 2 up actually with a perforation, and they have a hole already cut into them. I don't know if I still have a sample in my book or not. And I had done templates for sugar maple, trident, and a couple others, which explains the characteristics of the trees, its rate of growth and all that. And then the other side, I'm thinking must have probably been some kind of tree care, but I'll have to look. I don't know if you have the template somewhere.
I can look.
It was a while ago, but I'll see if I can
We'll
find
look
it.
for-
But more importantly, I mean, we may have to buy another box at the hangers, but could you just look around? Anyway, so I think they're 8.5 by 11. And then it's perforated in the middle and they have holes in them. So you couldn't have used that paper for anything else. And that's a great idea. That's in our community forestry management plan, the door hangers. And the thing is, we made the door hangers, but we didn't have any trees to plant. And so we didn't have that opportunity to use them, but we created them, with the intent to plant. So canopy assessment. I called up Emily Farshon and I took notes and I couldn't find them this morning, but basically the canopy assessment is on the Rutgers climate page. I wonder if I use my phone to find it, if it would remember. No, it's a new phone. It's Rutgers climate something. I will find it and I'll send it to everybody. I went there and I was looking around, but then I ran out of time to figure out how to find our assessment.
So what, Rutgers has
They have data that we can look in, and
information.
I looked at this years ago,
Okay.
and I believe this is the same site. Now it's not going to be current, but there will be some kind of aerial assessment. We just have to find it in there. So I'll send it. I'll have to find that, or I'll call Emily again. Like I said, she's very helpful, and she said she was going to introduce herself to you at the Shade Tree Federation. I said we had someone going for CORE. Did you meet an Emily Farshon? No. There's a lot of people there. Okay. Consultant Jessica is going to share with us the Zoom call that we had with an arborist, the full-time arborist in Princeton last November. And several of us were present for the consultant, just a general discussion about the inventory and the report on trees with the Save a Tree consultant, Matt. That was at our September work session, I believe. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's all I have for old business. Does anyone else have any old business that we haven't touched on? No? Okay, so moving ahead, new business. You have before you a sheet of meeting dates. Now, we can schedule a work session anytime. That's why we have $100 in our budget for the notice for having special meetings, because the budget only includes the notice of these meetings for us. So does anyone have any kind of conflicts or that they're aware of now? This is again the first Thursday of these months that we meet.
Except for January, because the first Thursday
Oh.
is January 1st.
Right. Now, see,
Every
that's
year.
what we haven't done before, but we'll do that again because we get started, and then that's something we just did this year for the first time,
Yes.
and we'll do it again. So let me see, January
So
8th.
that would actually be the second Thursday. That's why I put a little asterisk.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so is everyone available on the 8th to come for the reorg meeting? Is that the only thing that is going to be on the agenda, the reorg meeting?
I
I mean, I
believe
think
that's
that's
what
kind
you
of
guys
how
did
it.
last
Yeah, I
year.
think that's how it has to
Yeah,
go.
that's what we did.
And so at that reorg meeting, we could plan a work session for later that month, prior to our February meeting, so we can just report on all our progress in February, if that makes sense to you guys. But this way, we'll be together on the 8th to plan a work session.
I have a question. With the number of work meetings that we have, would it be possible to just have a meeting every month on like the first Thursday? And if it's not a regular meeting, that it would be a working meeting, it would be a work session. Just for planning purposes, to keep.
I mean, to plan the year ahead.
Just to plan, just to simplify, that we know that
Well, yeah,
we'll
we
be
can.
meeting every 30 days, and some will be a formal session like this, and others. will
We
be
can't do that so much. Oh, well, I see what you're saying. So plan to have work sessions.
because we have had, how many have we had?
3, I think.
We're getting close to a
we had
year's worth.
I think we had three last
You
year.
know, maybe take August or take a month out, or
Um,
if it's a difficult month for people. But it seems to me we're getting close to.
yeah,
So
but
for
again,
the legal
the
ad
meeting, there's,
requirements, you would have to, we do the legal ads of all of these meetings, the regular meetings.
Mhm.
The work sessions I advertise separately, and I advertise them as a work session. And if we picked a day for a work session and then no one was available that day, then you have to cancel the meeting and then do a legal ad to cancel it. So if it
Yeah.
works for you guys to just keep what we've been doing, because I don't know if everyone's schedule would align where there'd be back and forth about the work session day. Because once you advertise it, then there would be another process for canceling it.
right, we'd have to add more money to
It
the
might be
budget
better
as well.
to just do the one ad when we know everyone's available on that work session.
Yeah, the
day.
way we've been doing it is we plan at a meeting, we plan whether a work session is necessary. And I believe we had 3 last year, is that right?
Well, I like
Think about
the
that.
idea not to schedule it, but just for us with our own calendars. Every time we go to put something on our calendar, when it's a first Thursday of the month, we can, say, well, maybe if I have an option, I'll try to keep that open in case we have a work session. Because when we do have a work session, it's a challenge, and we usually end up with a Thursday. And we also have to have it, decide on it 2 weeks ahead of time, so it's published even
Yeah.
for the work session. So, I'm not saying let's make it formal, but for our own help, because I have other things on other Thursdays,
Yeah,
but
everybody.
the first
Yeah.
Thursday,
We have been trying to keep it to a Thursday, not
it's
necessarily,
easier.
but we haven't been able to necessarily get that first Thursday when we planned, but generally we have been keeping the meetings to Thursdays because there's nothing else.
Yeah, and I
There's no
have
Thursday
something
meeting,
every
that's
third
why
Thursday.
We've been doing that, and then when there's a need and we have a lot of, we have to get together and work, that's when we plan it. But Jessica, you're saying that's not sufficient?
I just think that it's often enough that we do it that it would be easier to put it on books. I think other committees.
But we can
have-
only put the meetings on the books, not the work sessions.
We can
so we
put
have
the
to
work
make-
sessions on the books. It's just that they would then be,
No, we
Well,
can't.
I'd have to double check on that.
but then they'd have to be canceled because I think other committees do that. They know that they're going to have to meet. They need to allow for the possibility of meeting frequently. I see meeting cancellations all the time. And we're like, do they
Yeah, those
meet?
are meetings, not work sessions. A lot of work sessions take place, well, the committees that have slightly more people, they can get together and work more than 2 at a
Okay.
time outside of meetings. That's a
That's
limiting
and I
factor
think that's
here.
part of our complaint from
Because-
because it's so hard for us to have. Even we can't really. It's hard to have any informal discussions about anything happening. So I think.
Well,
I mean,
thought
my
that-
preference would be to have something on the books, and I don't know if that's. It doesn't have to be a meeting, and I can't. The difference between a working session and a
It's
meeting.
very different.
Yeah.
No
if we
formal
don't-
action could be taken at a work
Right.
session, so that's why
Right.
it's different.
In
And-
terms of the scheduling, no, and what's
Yeah.
involved with that. If
But we
there's-
still have to follow Open Public Meetings Act is what I'm saying with the
Right.
legal ad notifications. So I think the way we did it this year worked with me. I do the legal ad for the work session.
It's hard
So-
to plan in advance. Like to get
To know whether-
a month or a couple weeks is not great advance notice for working something into a schedule. So I'm just putting that out there. My preference would be to have
I could look
it mapped
into how we
out
could
for the
do.
year. If we think there's a good chance that we're going to be meeting, to throw in maybe just throw in a couple of working sessions on times when we know it's peak. Maybe.
I'd have to see if that's a different legal ad, like if we did
Sure.
one with the regular meetings and then maybe at the first meeting we plan the work sessions and then I do those I'd have to figure out how I'm able to advertise it.
Well, can we wait till next year if we're gonna make a change so that
Sure.
we can plan our work session at that first reorg meeting?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce this. I just wanted to just put this out
Yeah,
there.
I mean-
it's something to think about.
Yeah, to Jackie's point, we do
Um,
try and keep it to a Thursday, and I don't generally keep every Thursday open, but when we get to so the work session, the first work session, what will that agenda be? I think we need one because, well, let me continue. Let me get through the agenda, and then we actually can get back to this. But other than adding work sessions through the year like we did last year. Other than that, are there any other issues with the dates of the meetings?
I just like to say, I think it's great that we're adding the rework meeting.
Yeah, it's something I guess we should have been doing all along, but no one, we weren't aware of it. But that is what is done starting, but I guess it came to the attention of the administration last year, and so I guess that's what every commission is doing now. Reorging, yeah. Okay, so.
Do you want to do a motion?
Oh, to accept this? Well, sure. I mean, I think this is okay for now. We can plan the work sessions. I mean, that's the flexibility of it too.
Yeah.
And really the only reason we're planning work sessions is because only 2 people can get together at a time to work on something, which is effective as well, but it's more effective, when we have 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah, I just don't want to misspeak because the TC is the one who we send these proposed dates to the TC and then they do their resolution to adopt it. So I don't want to mess anything up
I understand.
with the
I get
work
it.
session aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, we can still, move on this next year. We can make changes if we need to.
Because like these dates need to be submitted by like end of this month. So
Right.
then they could.
Yeah,
I
I
just
know
don't wanna-
there's timelines.
It
on
may
all of
seem
this.
like it's easier to like plan the dates in advance, but like for legal requirements, it may not work out that way. if
Yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
definitely the public meetings will be,
Yes.
so I'd like to move that we accept the meeting dates for 2026. Second.
All right, we could do a roll call. Miss Easton,
Yes.
Miss Irons,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Bouquet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is the budget, which is the same as last year, except for the increase in membership dues. Now, while it is true, how many copies do I have? While it is true that we didn't, we had very few expenditures, there were a lot of reasons, and, make it sound like excuses. Personally, I had several losses this year, and I lost most of my time for the whole year. Second of all, tree pruning and maintenance, I was trying to coordinate something with DPW, but I think I have to be more clear and maybe go through some other channels regarding staying, what do we call it? Staying current with what trees DPW is taking down and what work they're doing. We noticed in Heritage Park when we went for our pre-walk that there'd been a lot of pruning done, and I wasn't aware of that. And that's good to know because generally, Shadry has been doing the pruning in the parks for like 10 years now or something, quite a long time. We go through the parks every year, depending, and they don't all get work every year. But as of last year, everything was like caught up between Barn, Memorial, Millstone, Heritage, and Village. I think that's all of them. And we wanted to certainly look beyond that to the tree cops in Village Park, so that we get our microforests back, and then as well looking at Cranberry Brook Preserve, which is basically preserving invasives. So I'm leaving that the same. The thing is, ideal pruning time is during the dormant season. But that's between like fall and winter, and there's budget for this year, and now that changes, and that closes out really December 15th, something like that, this year's budget. So we'll work, I will work with DPW as much as I can. The tree planting, this is the reason why we didn't do it. It doesn't rain. We don't have a water source. We don't have a good idea for the water source. And this is something else I'd like to work out with DPW. They don't have a water truck, but they have a truck that they put a vessel in that does hold water. Because if we're going to spend $10,000 or $20,000 on tree planting, it's not us spending it, but if we're going to use taxpayer money, we need to ensure their ability to thrive. And watering has been an issue. We planted 3 trees last year, and I believe only 2 survived. Especially, it was very upset that the dogwood tree in Village Park died. That was planted by the Girl Scouts. They had a mosaic thing. The mosaic thing is now at DPW. We want to get that replanted. Another tree to substitute and get that mosaic back in. That was for a daisy group that is now going to be in 2nd grade next year. So anyway, so that's why we had, but Jackie and I did prepare an RFQ, request for quote, with all of the locations, although I'm realizing now $10,000 isn't going to cover it. That many trees, although maybe it will, because we're thinking about 500 a tree, right? So we should, with the root guards, so we should be okay. And
We also plan on the entrance to Shadow Oaks for next year.
Yeah,
That, there's 5 trees, I think, on that.
oaks,
Now,
yeah.
I had an idea of putting shrubs, but that's something we can discuss, but it still will be a cost.
Did you look at those trees, by the way? Do they have to
Oh,
come
yeah.
down like sooner than later? They can't even be pruned back anymore. It's that bad. That was my understanding, but I didn't actually look at them myself.
It appeared a number of them were dying, and it could have been oak tree. They were oak trees.
Yeah, I believe it is DPW's intention to take those trees down, which is another coordination factor I have to get on because we want to replace them. And we will decide with, I don't know, I know there's a resident whose house looks on that island and she's extremely upset that the trees are in bad shape. Well, all the trees in Sadly are in bad shape. BLS has done a number on all the trees. We can't change what's happened. But we won't put oaks back there necessarily, I would say, but I guess we'll work as Jackie and I are working. Yeah, we had planned for the spring because we hope to get those trees in the fall, but the spring planting is going to be specifically the island at, is that Jefferson?
Yes.
I think Jefferson, Shadow Oaks, and then also Parks insists on some kind of shrubbery around the Lions marker at Millstone Park, where the Lions marker is about this big. So, it won't be trees and will be some kind of native, a couple shrubs or something. But it used to be a circle of terrible things that got insect infestations. And we don't want to overpower the stone, but they want to set it off with something. So that would be included in the spring planting as well. Right.
And I would like to suggest in the future to plan on the fall is the best time, considering the lack of water in the summer for tree planting. But spring has also been considered appropriate.
It is.
And so, like Princeton plans on one, set of tree planting in the fall and another in the spring. Now, right now, looking at the fact that we weren't able to plant these trees in the fall, hopefully we can plan on it in the spring.
And only fall back to the fall if we have to.
And make sure we have that watering plan. If we use tree gators, I would think that they could be refilled.
Yeah, well, there's no consistency because DPW has different other priorities. I mean, taking care of the entire town.
Right.
A few
And they
tree
have less
specimens are
workers.
not always on the radar, and I don't know how to change that. So that's why, and we're in a drought. We've been in a drought for a long time now. We've been in a drought. New Jersey's in a drought period for over a year. The ground is very dry. The water tables are very low, and that's why we hesitated planting trees when we have no support. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if there would be like a watering schedule on volunteer basis possible. And the idea came to me when on Cranberry Day, one of our residents approached us and said, oh, she would even water her trees all by herself in front of her property, so along the sidewalk. And so I'm referring here to Shiva and Pramod Shiva. I think it's 74 South Main Street. And
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah. And there I felt there's so much commitment. So she offered to water those 2 trees. She's hoping that they will be replaced too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, we have high school students, middle school students, scouts, even all of us. We could step up, and I don't know what we could use, like Sign Up Genius. We have a watering schedule, and then everybody makes sure to water trees, the new planted trees, on a regular basis. And it's a community effort.
Yeah, if you would like to head that up and make that happen. The thing is, you can't have a watering schedule because if we get rain, you don't want to overwatering the tree. It's just as bad as not watering it.
Yeah.
So there's actually a very specific.
To the judgment of everybody involved.
When we were planting trees more regularly back in the days of the no net loss, and then Jackie and I planted trees a couple of years to fill in because the township committee wants us to focus on the village first. It's always about the historical village, of course, and maintaining that. But we don't get regular rain anymore. That's changed, and so that's a huge difference. all those trees survived then
Right.
without,
Well,
without
if
getting
we're
rid of the
talking
foliage.
about 10 trees per year or 12 trees per year, we could have
Yeah,
a learning
volunteer.
board for the volunteers and explain all this to them. And, keep in contact then. One of us could just, shoot out an email, every week, make sure you get the tree. They need an inch a week or something in the heat of the
We have to look at
summer.
the requirements.
Right.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it could be, I don't want to label it, but like it's the idea, the concept is like maybe adopt a tree for only 1 or 2 years. And then, yeah, like Sign Up Genius or other apps, they would send you a reminder. And then we could always put in, if it has rained, thank you, you don't
Yeah,
need
I
to
mean,
water.
if you would be willing to take care of all of that and sign up, because it will change. It won't always be the same. If someone's away, maybe they need to let the first year is the most critical, but they really should be watered for 2 years. So I was going to send an email to all the people who are waiting for trees to sadly inform them they will not be planted this fall because of the drought. We're looking to plant in the spring. Do they have any interest in watering the tree after planting? Now, these aren't all going in front of homes. For instance, there's 2 different park trees going in. So they're not in front of someone's house. Are there other trees that aren't going right directly in front of someone? I think those are the only 2 that are off. They're not street trees. I think, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's a shame for us to not plant trees just because of this problem. We need to solve the problem. And at Shade Tree Convention, they've talked about other towns that use this method of the
volunteers.
homeowners, being very proud of the tree in front of their house. And it doesn't work 100% of the time. But with, like we only have like 10 or 12 that we're planting a year probably. And so we ought to be able to handle
Yeah, that's
that.
very manageable. Yeah, that's a good point. This would say when we planted the street trees, before we went at loss when many trees were there, we had complaints because people don't always want trees. So it is on a case by case basis.
And also at the core training, I saw pictures of water bags. They look like a donut, and you put them around trees. And the nice
Tree
thing,
diapers.
yeah,
That's what they're called.
yeah, and I was
For the
thinking
wedding?
of those far away in the park where you cannot carry heavy buckets of water. Let's say, so one of those bags are filled with water, and then it's just dripping slowly around the.
I did research that,
Okay.
and I only read it quickly once, but it sounds like there's something in those bags that you just soak it before you install it. But not only does it help to, absorb the water when it rains, but it said something about when it floods, it would take the water away. So I'm not sure, I would rather research that. But again, there's a way, if there's a willing, there's a way to do this. We can always have a wagon, for someone in charge of trees in the park, but you would think we could at least get the DPW to take care of the ones in the parks.
Well, where's the water source in the park? There isn't one, is there?
No, well, not yet. Well, no,
I mean,
they will have,
we were gonna
they're going to
fill
have a
that in.
fountain in Heritage Park.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, the women's club takes care of those flower pots on Main. And we have these huge containers. I have no idea that I put in when it's my turn, I put them in my car and I take my hose from my house and fill them up whilst they're in the car. And then I just lug them, I park near the water pots on Main. And I mean the flower pots on Main. And so the women's club does that through the summer, take turns, because that's what we do. And so I'm sure if the women's club can do that, we can get homeowners to do a tree in front of their house. And we could find out where they got those. Actually, I think I talked to someone that knows someone that has those big things that we
The
could
tree
give.
diapers, you mean? Or what do you
No,
mean?
no, the water, fill up the thing once a week from their house.
I also would love to add that Jackie and I learned on the tree walk day, November 1st, that we will soon, like next year, get like a water station in Heritage Park where you can drink.
Well, yeah, filling up water
Oh,
bottles.
this is on the parks,
Yes.
goals?
Right.
Yes,
We don't have one there? Or was
It's
oh,
not
they
installed
kept
in
breaking it.
Heritage yet. And I think it's installed in Village Park, maybe. I don't know, but I know Heritage Park, Sally showed me where it's going
It's
to
there
be.
now.
yeah, and they marked already the location. So maybe it's even possible if
How would you
you use
fill,
water to refill those.
how would you do that? You need to attach a hose to the faucet and you don't really want to, you can't get the bucket under the little faucet.
Well,
You could get really.
Barbara and I will volunteer to work on this and see.
yeah,
We'll
have to coordinate
report
with
it
parks,
to,
too.
Shade Tree, how we're going to do this
Yeah.
when we actually get the trees planted.
Right, so we definitely have to coordinate with parks, and also regarding the diaper versus the gator, if someone wants to research that, because I don't know that the donut is very aesthetically pleasing. People are used to the gator. I'm not sure how the diaper would go over. Although the diaper, here's the people that make it. The diaper, did I already lose it?
Those donuts
Um,
look green, like dark green. Maybe you can order them in different colors. They look
They are dark. Well, I hope they're not white.
When I
dark
read,
green.
the one I
know.
read, they said you could put the mulch on top of them, but like I say, it needs more research.
So they absorb rain or irrigation water, and they slowly release it back to the plant when the soil dries. It promotes healthy. You see, we have to someone do some research. I'm just curious about this. Now, the one benefit of this is it doesn't go around the trunk, because the other thing I've been experiencing is tree gators left on all winter. And we have bark damage on the trees that did have them. Like this is what we need an arborist for, to attend to the attention of the trees and the care of the trees, specifically all that afterwards.
I learned at core training that you have to remove those donuts when it's freezing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay. So that's the thing. We need to be careful how much we take on. I don't want Shade Tree to take on all of the physical work for tree care. That's not the plan, I believe. There's a public works department, and we have budget for an arborist. But hiring a consulting arborist, they're not going to be out there doing the tree care. That's somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That's not what we really need the arborist for. What we need is a team devoted to trees, and maybe it's the community volunteers, as you say. So,
Well, also,
and I will let you know how many people respond, yes, they'll water the trees.
Yeah. I would sign up immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the
just to
owners
get the
Once I hear
bags.
from
Those
also I
donuts.
found out that the one town, when they pay landscaper to plant their trees, they charge them so much money, and the township holds 10%, I think, for the first year, because they in their contract with them, they're responsible for keeping the trees watered, and so they don't get that 10% of the cost of planting the trees until after the first year. I love that. I
Yeah,
hate
and we
to
did
add
that. That's how it was with the no net loss trees also.
Okay.
But
But we've never
because
had
we're
that
spending
in our
less than
contract.
$40,000, we don't have that kind of contracts. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know, but whatever our contract is, can't we, include that they're responsible?
The planters, you mean, the landscape people
The
that plant it?
people, whoever it is that plants the trees, are supposed to be responsible for a year to water them. But I found out that
Does Sunset do that? Will they water them for a year? That was one of our vendors. we might use.
I don't know. That's the thing. It's something to consider. Because that would take the most critical year responsibility away.
Yeah, I'd really like
It's a
to work out with
suggestion.
Public Works, because they have the means, and I know they do get that jug on the truck to water the flowers. They water the annuals regularly, or they wouldn't have survived the summer. So I know there's watering going on regularly. And I know what's difficult about this is it's all spread out. There's a tree on the night, there's a tree in Heritage, there's a tree on Prospect, there's a tree on all the way South Main.
Right.
But it's still within the village pretty much, we're not watering the whole township. So it seems like a simple problem, but we haven't been able to solve it. And even when we talk to, and maybe Taylor has a better suggestion about did we talk to Taylor, did we talk about watering trees in the Taylor?
Yes,
and-
yeah, because I just listened to
Yeah, and what
the-
did he,
it yesterday, and
What
that's
did he
where I
s-
got the idea from of holding 10%. But of course, it's probably his team in his town that plants the trees, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he has
They
a
seem to
team,
do
yeah.
everything.
I believe he has a crew.
Yeah, he
I
has.
think unless he contracts
He
them all
has a
out.
trained crew specifically just for trees. They're working all the time on the trees.
Oh, wow.
They're working all the time.
Wow.
And I also and they're also trained from Rutgers. They have to get CEs from Rutgers, and
So they're knowledgeable. They know,
so
they
they're
know what
knowledgeable.
they're
They
doing.
know how to prune correctly, and so when they're not planting trees, they're pruning trees or removing dead trees. That video, all that was discussed, and then the contract too. And I thought they used someone that we were looking at to plant the trees.
I know that, I know the recent
So we
plans
have
that
to
they use.
verify all this.
True, but I do know that in terms of Princeton, I know that they use Princeton Tree Care for planting trees at some point, because when I had Princeton Tree Care here to talk about pruning, they bragged that they were doing a big planting for Princeton Township. He uses contractors. They don't do everything. They don't plant all the trees or anything like that. His crew doesn't do that. They do the care, but he contracts out like we do to get trees planted. And I don't know if we ever discussed even root guards with him, but that's what the township requires now because of the sidewalk issue. And there's sidewalks going up all over town. That's one thing I often get calls about. You take down the tree, it's pushing up the sidewalk. Well, we don't do sidewalks. And so then I generally have to refer it to Denise or get some feedback, how to handle that. There's 2 trees in question right now about that. And I will follow up with Public Works about that. So thanks for the community care suggestion, because I know there's a lot of people that want to help with trees, and I will see what percentage of the houses in front of where we're planting, how many of those people would be willing. So we start to get an idea about that, and I'll let you know. Anything else on tree planting? Do you want to make changes to this budget?
Can we go through the 225 actions?
I'm sorry?
What I'd like to see what
I
we
have
actually
them.
spend in 2025.
Oh,
And
I can
the-
tell you what we spent. We spent the membership dues, we spent some of the training,
So it was
and we
220
spent the work notice, the work session, the 100 for the work, and nothing else. We did not spend the 47,000. The arborists that we consulted with over the last year have done it for free. It's been brief. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the memo.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
So
So
really,
we
so-
spent,
okay.
so we spent this, we didn't spend any of that. That's all, because we didn't get to these things for various reasons. Oh, I just want to say one other thing about the tree pruning. The tree pruning, we have been trying to get the trees on Main Street, all those young trees that were planted with the beautification project and the new nut loss, because they really need pruning for structural health. I thought DPW was going to do it, and it turns out they're never going to do it. I don't think they even have the equipment really. And that's a very subjective thing to get a quote on. So, very subjective. And yes, they can look at the inventory, okay, that says, but they really need to look at every tree again, to see what it needs at the time, because branches break and utility companies come in and people, and they would be, which is why that's why we would contract that out for Main Street. I thought it could be done in-house. That's why we contracted out. I thought it would be done in-house, but I don't think it can be done in-house. So anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jessica, continue.
Yeah, just the line that I would really like to see bumped up is the consulting arborist, and I would triple it because I just don't see how we would get any significant number of hours on a regular basis from someone at 7,000. If we're really gonna get someone to assist, which I think we do need to do in reviewing, tree removal requests as well as any, planning office, proposals, anything that's going through planning or zoning. We need an arborist to be looking at that. And if you're gonna get any kind of, not even a lot of monthly work, I think we're probably looking at something more like, 20,000.
And that would be to provide all the care for the trees planted as well as the maintenance, the pruning, the ongoing care, the removal, they would coordinate with DPW on removal and maintenance.
It could. I mean, I don't know what the hours involved in coordinating with people, but that would be great if it could. But I think it would to actually review inquiries that are coming in, and whatever
Is that
follow-up
because you
is
don't think
involved.
Shade Tree should review the inquiries coming in?
I don't. I think it should be a certified arborist. Yeah, I don't think that's a volunteer role.
Can you explain why?
Because that's the standard that the state is trying to shift to. It was a major part of trying to have the legislation implemented at the township level.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of training, and I think it also takes
You mean to review the applications?
potentially. I think if we're talking about hazard trees and
Well, so you would want the arborist to go out to the site to do site visits. Is that what you're saying? That because I don't necessarily do that now for the application. I don't go to a site. Is that I look at I check that the guy's licensed, that the contractor is licensed, and then look at how many trees they're removing, and if it falls within the guidelines, and they all
Right.
so far they have. There's no action other than approving, and then they have the person do it. So you're looking like for more on-site work to see what they're doing, or what hasn't come up yet
Yeah.
is replacement trees. That hasn't come up
Exactly.
yet.
And so I think there's a lot that could be there. And I think what the person could also do is help with the plan. I mean, I think doing
Help with the planning for.
I don't see someone actually going out and doing the work. I want to make that clear. I don't see paying a consulting arborist
Right.
to be
Right.
out there with a pruning tool, but to coordinate with DPW, to coordinate with us, of this is, and to make recommendations on the kinds of things that we're talking about. Are like, okay, you're planting this many trees next year, and then here's also the plan for maintaining them and what it's going to cost, and it can come in with reason.
So you're talking about large planting plans, like
I'm just talking about our
the
regular
one
planting.
the one we looked today. They're putting some
Yeah.
more trees. They're doing a modification of one of the Amazon buildings, and our purpose looking is just to review the species. Everything else is on the planning board. All Shade Tree does is looks at the species to make sure there's nothing going in that shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's going to cause a problem, and that's all we look at because everything else is laid out in code,
One thing
and
that,
the planning board reviews them.
one thing that did concern me about that was, there was only a very few trees and shrubs that are planting on that huge property because there's already trees there that they said they're
Existing
gonna,
trees, yeah.
they're gonna keep, and then there's other trees that they say they're gonna move. But, we didn't even look to see, well, are there gonna be sidewalks or roads put in right near where those trees are they're gonna keep, they intend to keep, or when they move these trees, what size are they? We didn't have that information at all. So, and I was thinking, and the only reason why I even thought of that concern is because of the houses they're building on Old Trenton Road.
Yeah, just to say that plan was submitted long ago.
I
and so
know.
I don't know what's going in there.
I know,
Just to say,
I know.
unfortunately, yeah.
I know we don't have any, but after listening to that video with that you and Jessica
Mhm.
had with Taylor last year, he talked about the one thing he looks at when people are for the construction through the zoning board or whatever. He
Uh-huh.
goes with the zoning board because he wants to see how they're getting the trucks into the backyard and how any of the construction is going to affect the critical tree root of their neighbors. And I'm sure that's a concern of the neighbors right now where they're doing the construction on Main. And so moving forward, it's
Yeah, there
It's
is criteria in the code for not putting material under the canopy of the tree, against the tree. It's all part of but is it followed?
well, and
That's the
I
thing.
know the
We have
first
no
time I was aware
enforcement
of that, you
about
made
this.
sure they did that with the buildings across from Four Seasons, that there's a parking lot and then the homes, first Old Trenton Road buildings and then a parking lot and then the townhouses. And there was a couple of trees, one big tree, and you made sure they had a fence around it during construction to protect it. Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
think so, but
Well,
yeah, that's.
Well, so you
They're
did make
supposed to do
sure
that, yeah.
about that.
I must have gone on site that day. I don't usually do that because it's not my place.
Well, no, it's a
But-
big old tree and it's still there. And, they have garbage, the big garbage.
Yeah, so that would be another role for the arborist. So really what we're asking for is the township to hire an arborist. So I think we need to have a meeting with Denise because this is very different from consulting. This is someone who would who would be part of the township staff, part-time, whatever. And they would not be reporting to us. They would be reporting to the administration. We would be working with them. But I believe that's how it would have to go. And so I'll have to schedule a
I
meeting with
think
Denise to find out.
Taylor
But I'm
said
thinking,
it depends
Yeah.
on whether he's a consultant or working with the township because of insurance purposes.
yeah, there's all of that exactly. Yeah, I have to have a discussion with Denise then if we're looking at $20,000 a year to turn over some of what we do to an arborist.
Well, I
And
think there's
coordinate
not,
with
we're not
DPW.
doing, like, we can't go on site in any meaningful way. And I think that we need to have some kind of enforcement, especially for development.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
I totally agree. But we need to have the backing of the township committee and administration too. We can't do it on our own. So that's why I need to speak with Denise and see what the next step is regarding hiring a consulting arborist for the year, which would be a contract thing, right? It would be a contract thing, I believe. Like all the other, it's a professional service, like all the other professional services. So it would be an annual contract. But what I directly want to understand is who do they report to and how much do they, like how that would work? Exactly. How that would work, with the township, with them working with the township. And I don't know how it would work working, with that arborist working with DPW if they're not part of the DPW crew. These are all the questions that I have to see how that would work. Because we don't, first of all, our DPW crew doesn't have the tree stuff. They don't have the equipment to do the tree stuff. So that's why it's all contracted out. Because they don't have, although I'm curious to know who, the thing about the trimming in Heritage Park, and I think you both observed this, is that the cuts were not great. Is that correct? They were not great cuts? Did you see ripped bark? Did you see branch collar cut into, that kind of thing?
Yeah, but there's also another thing I would love to mention. And we realized this when we had a gentleman who planted those trees 30 years ago, all of a sudden. So meaning, and I want to support Jessica's idea for consistency, but also long-term strategy. Heritage Park is a beautiful example, and also Old Trenton,
Millstone.
park. If all trees are planted at the same time, we need to make sure, or a certified arborist needs to make sure that we need different ages. We need to make sure that not after 30 or 60 years, then they're all of a sudden gone. So we need different ages. We need a long-term strategy. We need consistency.
Yeah, I agree.
To have the next generation growing up under the 30-year-old trees right now. And that applies to quite some areas. And it's really important
Yeah, so
to have long-term.
Our long-term plan has been to plant 10 or dozen trees to replace in the village every year. We just haven't been able to follow through for a variety of reasons, COVID and, the budget is there. And I hope hopefully it'll be there again next year to move forward with the horticultural materials and everything. We do have an RFQ prepared. We just have a few details to iron out.
Right, it's been a very unusual year for the Shade Tree Commission. We have 2 new commissioners that were just trained this year. So, and there's a lot of, and like you say, we're dealing for the first real year with the new ordinance. And then also we've been dealing with the climate change and the new recommendations for trees for planting. And we have updated our tree recommendation list, which is wonderful because you can click on the, a source to learn
It's
about the
interactive,
specific
it's
tree.
great.
It's interactive, yes. So we've done a lot of work. It just doesn't appear in the physical view of new trees planted.
Yeah, we've done a lot
But
of
we're
work this year.
ready. We're ready
We
for
are.
next year.
Yeah, well, the RFQ is ready, and we were gonna ask for, we just have to iron out a few details, and we were gonna ask for quotes by January 15th. You see, our budget's not approved until April. Like, really, a lot of the work that needs to be done is at the end of the year and the beginning of the next year, and that doesn't align with budget, but we'll work that out. As long as we get this budget. As a matter of fact,
Do we want to do a vote? Motion?
yeah, well, do you want to do it? Well, actually, Jessica, you mean on the way it is now before making any changes, or?
The thing is, this is our last meeting.
Yeah, I know.
For the end of the year.
I know.
To submit the budget.
How about we compromise and, when we present the budget, we'll have to explain, in
I don't know
a
that,
couple
well,
of
I haven't been asked to a budget
sentences.
meeting for several years. I don't know that I have to defend the budget anymore. But I won't know that until January.
Right,
Until the
right.
township does the reorg.
When you present.
Kathy would submit the request to the administrator or finance department. This is like the proposal.
Right.
Just the
So
request.
I suggest
Uh-huh.
we compromise with Jessica's request for 21,000
Mhm.
and request 14,000 set aside for the arborist.
Does anyone know what an hourly rate?
Yes, it's 75 to 150 depending on what they're doing. That's the range. Now, I haven't looked at that range for maybe a year, but last I looked, it was 75 to 150 an hour.
All right, well, I took my calculator out and just looked at 7,000, considering we'd be paying the consultant, the easy number, $100 an hour. And so that left us with 700 hours, and I divided it by 4 to see if they came for 4 hours a time to Cranberry to work for us at $100 an hour. I divided that and I got 175 days. And then I did it with 5 hours into 700, and I got 140 days. Does that 5 into 7? 5. Yeah, 140 times
How many hours?
for 5 hours at a time. But that's
So 140
presuming
times 5 hours?
presuming they charge $100. $100 times 5 hours a day would be $500. $500 into 7,000 goes 140 times.
7,000 covers 50 hours, pretty much, for 150 rate. 50 hours. That's a lot of hours. They won't have an office. The township made very clear they don't want to add to administration costs. But this is necessary. The arborist. arborist.
Yeah.
I feel it really is.
It would
Now,
save us money.
just to say
in the long
in
run.
terms of, any arborist, what's the word I want? Enforcing, we have no enforcement.
That's,
This would have to be a new assignment to this person, and they'd have to have, well, obviously they'd have the credentials, but I don't know what they'd have to do to be that enforcer like the zoning officer is for township. Like, I need to inquire about that. Oh,
I think
Sorry.
from going back to the, some of the, like the webinars that were done at the time that we were taking on the new ordinance
Mhm.
or working on that. There's obviously a lot of different ways, different levels of enforcement and different ways to do that. But I think that you have to have someone who's designated as an officer legally to do that.
I believe that's correct, yeah.
And they're really looking at having that person needs to have some sort of training or can call on someone who can easily call on someone who is a licensed arborist or certified arborist.
Yeah, and who would be available to testify in court type thing, like
Yeah,
that's,
or
that's what
avoid
the
it.
zoning officer, when there are infractions, they're usually something that you go to court, and the zoning officer's job is to show up there, as the arborist would be.
And I think the other thing is for the arborist to be there in advance so that to educate and to kind of lay out what the ground rules, make those very clear
I mean, to the township.
to anybody, not just to the township, but to residents or developers to get in front of the problem and prevent it from us getting to the point where people are.
So maybe what we need,
Like, I think that's, to me, like having someone on staff on board and just getting that education out, we have a problem right now as to we've got more on the books than we can enforce. And we also have like a huge education opportunity. And I think there's so many people in town who would really, it would be great. You submit an application, you have a conversation with an arborist. To me, that's or if you have any questions for an arborist, you can get to that person. I see that as a real taxpayer benefit.
we'll also understand that the people who are submitting applications have already talked to an arborist, because they've had to have an arborist come out to consult about the tree and then insert them. So they're already working with an
Yeah.
arborist. So, but ideally, what I'm thinking now is, I think the planning board or the zoning board should have an arborist on there, should have a professional arborist. Maybe that's a way to get to this too.
But I think the
somehow.
township needs to have that person.
The township, not on a particular commission,
Well, if it were a
like an
particular
approval,
commission,
an
it would be
approval,
Shade Tree.
an approval
but-
commission, like
Yeah.
planning or zoning.
And in the same way, I think that when Shade Tree is brought in to review planning or zoning, that should be done by a certified arborist.
Okay, but yes, if they're gonna enforce all the other codes, which I don't look at, I mean, all we look at is the species, that's all they're asking us to do, are we satisfied with the species? So the landscape plan. The landscape plan is already supposed to be within all the confines of everything that's laid out. I don't know what chapter that is, but with all, there's particular rules for every planner to follow when they submit that. And for whatever reason, and this is because I pressed on it, we want to see what species are being planted, because we've seen what's happened over so many years, and now we're dealing with all of that. So I'm wondering if it shouldn't be part of the planning board process, because they see all the plans from the beginning to the end, and that would be the place for the arborist to speak up.
But there's also residential construction. And I
Oh,
think
yeah,
there's,
there is.
there's like a township-wide need.
Oh, yeah,
for
well, that would
someone
be,
to
that's also on the
be- yeah.
zoning board, yeah.
Yeah,
Also
to
on the
have-
zoning board, and they're right there to say, well, there's, to do that.
If
You know,
we could get to the point where we had an arborist, I would absolutely see running it worked into the process for the planning board,
Yeah.
Zoning board.
Mhm.
Where appropriate, that person.
Yeah, well, appropriate, I mean, they
So-
have, for, I forget which ones, but they do have a professional planner, they have a professional, them having a professional sector. I don't know. They have professionals that are there to consult.
Yeah.
And I think, given all the things that we're saying, it's to have an arborist there would be great because we're not arborists, you know. And I have been to planning board meetings. Yeah. So
Well, I just want,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just realized too with that video, I had taken notes on it, with the Taylor and you too. You talk about, the certificate of occupancy. He mentioned that developers have certain rights to take trees down, you know, live trees that are healthy, but, you know, they're supposed to replace them within a certain time frame. And he said, sometimes that's included in the certificate of occupancy. So they, until they have at least a plan
they can't
to
get the
plan,
CO.
they can't get their CO, which
Right.
I'm sure.
So-
you know, it would be really worthwhile having. But he did say, as the arborist, it needs to be constantly rechecked to make sure they're
You mean this
planning
on site? Yeah, the on site. Yeah,
on site.
yeah, which you need a
So-
professional for.
But
Sorry.
you know, it's just another. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot.
it is a lot. It is a lot, which is why we're looking for a professional consultant because you know. But just to say, regarding the residents, they're sending in the applications. They all ready to all talk to an arborist is the thing.
Mhm.
So I don't know the township would support us sending someone else out there when they've already talked to an arborist, and we should trust them to do what they said they're going to do. And again, no plans have come in where there's so many trees that there needs for replacement. Okay. And I think they have a year to do that. Does anyone? I think it's a year they have to replace the trees, maybe depending. Okay,
Yes.
but also wanted to say there's something else I just forgot. So regarding enforcement, so there was a situation where trees were going down at the old pool club property. I got phone calls. I called the township administrator, and the reason there was enforcement is because it was our riparian zone. I never heard anything else about it. Do they have a plan? I don't have any contact information, so that's like a loose end. They took down all those trees. I mean, some are just laying there still, and they, you know, destabilized the whole bank there that goes into the millstone. Now that I know the zoning officer was called. I was told the zoning officer was called and went out, but I don't know what happened after that. There's been no communication
No, and that's why it would be really helpful to have someone.
because an
besides
arborist
the
would
five
be
of us.
involved in that, and they would be helping to work on the plan. I think their plan for that property is to actually grow trees. Okay, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, moving on because it is 11:30. So now we've changed the budget. We've doubled the consulting arborist to 14,000, and I'll have to have a meeting with Denise pretty quickly to see how this whole thing would work in terms of how much, you know, what kind of enforcement power will they have, and will the township committee support that? And also because we don't really have any consequence, and we're not even raising money with these applications. It's all free. You know, we can't pay for the arborist from the tree applications, which so many places do. You know, they would be getting a fee for those applications, and then that money would go toward planting trees or tree care.
But if word goes
professional
around that
consultant.
Danbury has an arborist that's going to check up on you, even with.
But we can start that. Remember whether we have one or not. There's an arborist. There's an arborist in town. So that makes it 55,075, I think. The budget 55,075. So I make a motion to approve this budget request for 2026, total of 55,075, as it reads, except for the correction under consultant arborist to 14,000. So I made the motion.
I'll second it.
We'll do a roll call. Ms. Easton,
Yes.
Ms. Irons,
I'm sorry, but I still have questions on the budget and the process. I don't feel like I have enough information to either like approve or disapprove this right now.
I feel like a lot of the questions you have are only for administration. Like there has to be administration approval
Right.
on a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of behind the scenes, like not behind the scenes, there are legal requirements on like financial aspects to this. So
And we don't know what someone would even require to come on board to be an arborist in any form. So we may be lowballing this. And we don't have any process built in to or maybe we're highballing it, but we don't have any process within this budget as we're being asked to approve it to go up or down.
So,
And I just don't,
okay, well,
and it,
To remind you, you don't have to vote. You can vote nay.
Yeah.
You can vote nay. But this is the last meeting of the year. So this is just a vote. The majority of members were
yeah,
to,
can
and
you
just
just
say for-
run through the timeline one more time for me of what happens with the budget?
we discussed the budget at a meeting. Kathy submits the budget request to the administrator, the CFO. They review it if it's approved or not. The budget is passed at a next year meeting.
In April.
well,
I'm not a part of that process. It's
And this budget is for January to December or
yes, it's
or
a calendar
later?
year. No, it's calendar year.
If
January
it's
to
calendar
December.
year, how is it not approved until April?
Well, it's okay. So the budget, there's a meeting in January where they present the budget, and it's a public
there's a
meeting.
budget meeting.
There's a budget meeting. So there's that. And my experience is for several years I had to go and explain the budget because the budget used to be nothing, like, I don't know, $5,000. And we're explaining the need for, over the years, we explained the need for taking care of the trees. And there's a lot of money involved in that, contracting out. But we never went over 40,000 because that's a whole different thing that I wouldn't even handle. That's a going out to bid thing. And we weren't asking for more than that ever, more than like 30. And then, I'm sorry, the mic is off. And then in April is when it's like some kind of final approval process. I don't know exactly what it is, but really we'll know in January. Is it because we vote? Is there a public vote in April or something? I can't remember now what happens in April that
I know,
signs
that's
off
why
on
it's-
it.
They,
It's
one Saturday,
administration
one Saturday,
questions.
and they take each.
But yeah, on that at the budget meeting, that's when we really will know if it's approved. And if Denise wants me to be at the budget meeting, she'll let me know.
Mhm.
But I won't know until
I
next
did
year.
remember last January, I was at the meeting where you presented the budget. And the the township committee members had a lot of questions and it got very confusing. And when it was over, I spoke to different members of the committee and they would have given us more money. And here we thought we were asking for a lot of money and they would have given us more money at the time. And-
That was at a township meeting.
A township
Where two of the
meeting.
members boasted, "Oh, we could have given you more money." It was the
Yes.
inappropriate thing to say at that point. We'd already had the meeting.
I know, but it was very frustrating. But the fact that whatever.
Yeah.
I, from my own experience in my few years here on the earth, it's better to ask for more than less. I've found that many instances,
Right. So these numbers aren't so arbitrary. When we did the tree plantings before, we did about 10 or a dozen trees. It's about 10,000. That's what we're basing that on. The number's gone up with the root guard requirement. In terms of tree pruning, having done this for many years, it's generally about 20 or 30,000 to get through the parks and the other things. Now we've been going through the parks so regularly through the years. They're really in much better shape, and some work's been done in heritage that I wasn't even aware of, which means I don't need to get those trees pruned. This is based on experience, how much
but
it will
those trees
cost,
were
except
pruned
the arborist
incorrectly,
part.
too. They
Yeah.
might die.
I know.
Replacement sooner.
Yeah.
I have a question. What is our priority for 2026? Is it planting? Is it replanting? It cannot be pruning alone. So
No, it's planting.
It's
Getting the
planting.
trees replaced on Main Street
very good.
and getting our
Okay.
community forestry management plan. Someone to work on that because we need a new one
Yes.
because ours is going to expire. I believe it is at the end of 2027 because it says through 2027. So my understanding is that is through the end of 2027.
But-
So this year we need to prepare and find someone to prepare next year for approval.
Yeah, but that would
I mean,
cost
the
extra
27.
money too.
That's about $5,000, something like that.
Okay,
And that's not in the budget for next year because we won't be paying for that, I believe, until 2027 when ours expires. But
okay.
Is that correct? Does it run through the last day of the year, 2027?
We need it, we need one,
I just don't know if it means.
this one's good till 2027. So we
The end of 2027, so we need to be prepared by the end of this year
Right.
to
So the
get
end-
quotes and have a new CFMP ready to go by the end of 2027 for 2028. And all of this, I mean, and these are our goals. You can look, I mean, this is now, just working with the same plan for 10 years. But if you look at the, by the way, the extra one got ruined by the rain on Cranberry Day, so I don't have an extra one now.
Because that kept planting is.
Like this sort of shows our priorities, and we sort of, we're doing a repeat, since we're doing another
Kathy?
5 years.
Did you say that we just got that information about the outline, what's required for the CM?
No, what we got, what New
What
Jersey
was
Forestry
that for?
Association, what New Jersey Urban and Community Forestry Association sent, the state sent was the application for annual report.
Oh, okay. Because I wrote down remember I showed this to you. I think it was from one of the conventions. It says the CFMP guidelines for 2025. They're going to have key changes. The inventory now is required. That's a new requirement. And we've started that requirement. Management is driven by data. So we need to have data like, how many people attend these community events we have and how many trees we're planting and how many trees we're pruning, that kind of thing. Everyone is doing that, driven by data if we haven't in the past. And we have to have canopy mapping requirements. So that's something else we have to have. And it just says it's a general thing, new way to look at program goals and outcomes.
So that might even change before we get ready to do ours, which will run 28 for the next 5
Right.
years after that. So
Right.
there might even be more changes
Right.
coming that we don't know
But the
about.
data
Yeah.
driven is important. In the canopy, we know they've been,
Yeah, well, with $14,000, we can get the second phase of the tree inventory done. I mean, if we're looking for arborists to do stuff, we want more data, they could do that maybe. But generally, that's a very specialized thing, and not every plant does inventory. And I would like to actually, what I'm not clear about is, since we've had Save a Tree do the first part, I was very happy with Matt and all the information, the report and everything. Can they just do the next one, or do we have to take it out to bid again to do the second part? That doesn't make sense to me. There should be some continuity, but we're asking for money, so I don't think that would cover inventory and a CFMP. And Jessica specifically is asking for more help, on site in town with the various things that are changing. But
Okay, so we did get a motion in a second, but roll call was interrupted.
so we're gonna start again.
Would you want
Oh.
to, or
1, 2.
we had a motion in a second,
Okay.
but we did not finish roll call. So
So do you want to get back to Jessica for her vote then? Is that
has
where
that
we're now?
happened before
No.
where you,
Well, sometimes we do make a motion and we get into a discussion, we lose
Yeah.
ourselves.
do you want to start again? But I just want to, my mic should be on. I just want to remind you, you can nay, you can abstain.
Okay.
I think we also need motions to end or begin discussion on specific agenda items, which we didn't do on this
Wait, what do you mean?
one. We didn't have a motion to end discussion on the budget. We went straight to a roll call.
Kathy asked for a motion. If someone makes a motion and there's a second, then it can move on to roll call.
We didn't ask to end discussion. I mean, it just went straight to the roll call.
You asked for a motion.
Okay.
If someone makes a motion and it's seconded, then that's what moves on to roll call. You can vote however you want. Okay. So do you want to restart and ask for another motion after the discussion?
Let's start again, because I can't remember when we made the change.
If the discussion changed?
So do I ask now, is there any more discussion before I make a motion? Is that what you're asking procedurally wise?
Okay, so we're doing a new motion. to begin or end discussion? Is that,
No,
And
I'm
go to
asking
the
you,
motion.
is there more discussion before I make the motion? If it seems like you're not
So
done
is
discussing
there-
the budget.
is there any possibility of asking for a higher number on this item? Because I just don't think, like I've said before, I think your starting figure is probably gonna be something more like 20,000.
This is 90 hours of work right here. I'm just saying, it's 90 hours. That seems like that might be sufficient.
If you're asking someone to come on board as a consulting arborist, I'm just trying to think of what's gonna make it worth it. It seems better to me to go in highballing and to get, if that is what it is, and to be pre-approved for a higher figure than we might need, than to have to go back and find that we don't have enough to move forward.
Right, well, I still don't have the administration's input
Yeah,
into how
depending
well
on
this would
the
work.
amount
I
that
don't-
you're
I don't
paying
know.
someone.
So that's why that's why I was okay with 14,000, because I think we'll be okay this year. Once we figure out how it's all going to work and under who is they gonna report, all of that.
But what's the process if you find, if the concept gets approved for a consulting arborist or somebody on part-time staff, however that works, then what would be the process of actually coming up with what that amount would be? And if it's not sufficient,
I
what
think
is the
these are
process
all
to do that?
questions for administration and the finance department. There's a lot being discussed here that should to get clarification, should be going to the administrator to clarify, to make sure you get the right answer.
Yeah, and my understanding is that, as a consultant, I would be a professional services contract like any other. But all the professional services contract is clear what board they're on and who they're reporting to and
Which
how
is
much
based on the
leverage
amount
they
that
have.
you pay them.
So,
Like
yeah.
depending on the amount that you pay someone makes it a different type of situation.
Right, so we're being asked, so we don't have enough money, we don't have enough information really to vote. In my opinion, we don't have
Well,
adequate
we ha-
information.
We
But
have to vote on the budget today, one way or the other.
It's
Because
based
that's
off
our
the majority of
responsibility.
members.
So we definitely have to do that. But if you're saying,
Is there a process by which, if there is a discussion with administration and it looks like this is something that can move forward, but it requires more funding, is there a process by which the budget can be amended? And what would that be?
no, you can't amend the budget during the year of the budget. I don't think you can amend. You can move some things
I
around.
can't.
I would like to suggest just increasing the 14,000 to a request for 18,000 to get this moving along. The 18,000 would allow us to pay $200 an hour for 90 hours.
Well, at 150 an hour, we get 90 hours for 14,000. But I also, if we're going to be putting that many hours, then I need to find out, can they be, will they have some say on the planning board meetings? And because they go to the planning board, and I don't know, there's a lot of things I don't know. So for me, 14,000, I wouldn't want to ask for more than that because we don't even have experience with the consulting arborist this year. And really, so I think we could get quite a lot for that. Once I find out what the directive is from the administration.
It's unfortunate we didn't at least find out about the insurance, whether it has under the township or.
Well, my understanding is they'd either work on a contract, okay, for so many hours, I think or it's they just work hourly. We call them when we need them. That was the two options when I was.
Right, and
When
they just work
I called
hourly.
multiple arborists and got the rates, which was 75 to 150. And those are the two ways they explained it, other than being hired part-time as an employee. But I believe that is out of the question, last I talked.
agree.
So those are the two ways that it works, just hourly or for so many, hourly pay, as we need them by request, or something else, which is what Jessica's looking for, and the 14 I think would cover it, but I don't really know. But I think we do need to take a vote and move forward one way or the other, but not until we're done discussion. So
It's a year since we've been working on this, trying to get an arborist. You know, we've been talking about we need to get an arborist. We need to get an arborist. So we need to get an arborist.
Yeah, I would support a higher figure, but I don't think 14K is gonna cover it.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Go ahead.
Jessica, what would you suggest as a figure?
So I suggested 20,000. Jackie suggested 18. I think that's better than 14. Yeah.
So what speaks against 20,000 as a?
We don't have to use it. Like to have that as
I have
a
to
year-round
justify it
system.
though. But we can put 20,000 if if that's what everyone agrees, we could put 20,000. I just want to end the discussion and move on, quite frankly. So if we want to put 20, we can make it 20. If you feel strongly, but I think if you could prepare, Jessica, please, for Denise, and a list of what you specifically gives you a very clear overview, sort of what you anticipate this arborist would do for us during the year. For the 20, which is quite let me see how many hours that would be. And let's say 175, because rates have probably gone up, because everything else is. You're using 200, Jackie?
For 200, it would be 100 hours.
Mm-hmm. Oops. 100 hours. Yeah, well, yeah, this is 20,000 easy.
And 100 hours if they came for 5 hours a day.
But what
It
are
would
they,
be
where are they
20
coming
days.
to 5 hours a day? And what are they doing 5 hours a day?
Well, once a month, they can look at all of our requests for permits. And then they can also work with the zoning board on
The plans.
the plans. And then they can also help us with our requests for
Selection of trees.
proposals
Mhm.
and selection of trees, and maybe do a info to the community,
Present a program. maybe.
present a program, and also do we have money for we in the past for training. Like one time we had an arborist do a pruning training, and we had some people from Public Works and people from the Environmental Commission came, and we learned how to the correct pruning and
Mhm.
practice it. I'm not even online. Book knowledge is one thing, but hands-on
Yeah.
is so important. And that tree.
So 100 hours a year is 2 hours a week.
I don't think we require someone to come every week.
But I'm just saying that's what it would average out to.
Uh-huh.
It's just another way to think about it, which is not, and that could be, if it just happens once a month, then that's, 8 to 10 per month. Is that what we're looking at? That
8 to 10 what?
hours. And it's,
I don't know, because I'm not having a clear vision of what, I'm not sure what the.
it just seems to me like
What
that gets eaten up really quickly.
So I just want to say this about the application. So because I happen to have lived in town a long time, I've been doing this a long time, I know most of the people who submit the applications, which gives me an advantage because I can call them maybe quickly if they've left something off, or, because no one's doing the DBH. I'm getting circumferences all the time, not a big deal, divide them by 3. But to see, or if they're missing something, like maybe you're missing the license number, I have to explain why they need the license number, and it has to be a certified arborist that they're putting. But there's nothing further that's needed. You look on the website. I'm familiar with who is licensed and who isn't, but you just check the directory. And obviously you don't approve it, but pretty much everyone is getting a licensed arborist, and they've already been on site, and it's the homeowner's responsibility to submit the application with the arborist. But I don't know what next step there is beyond that. Data collection, yes, but what else? What else do you want the arborist to do when they've already talked to an arborist, the homeowner?
So it's not just, can we take down this tree in front of our house or not? It's also if there's construction, if there's something like that going on, there needs to be follow-up
Like with
You know, if there's
big,
an actual
like big
review.
construction, like.
Or a deck in your backyard that could involve your neighbor's tree or another tree on your property. There's
Not-
a lot
not
of things
there.
that can damage trees. So like,
So you want oversight on the residents' construction?
if there's something in the town that is, if somebody is asking to remove trees or has major construction, I'm assuming that gets reviewed for tree damage or tree removal, right?
Well, I don't go survey properties, no. Because I don't have any, unless I'm invited. If the applicant invites me, sure, but they just want to do the due process. They said in the application, it's reviewed, I make sure it's online, I approve it, it's not, I don't understand what needs to be done.
So
I don't,
this is really awkward conversation to have, and if this is something that
this is why we have work sessions.
to have like a working session devoted to the budget. And I feel like this is hard because we don't know exactly what we need. We don't know what someone's going to ask for.
Well,
or
I
it's going
think
to be
we're,
worth it for them to do this work. And that's why I want this higher number so that we are, putting our best foot forward so that we have enough. We're going into a lot of unknowns, and I think we just need to allow for a higher number.
okay, well, if we're gonna do
I'm
that,
not hoping that we spend every last penny of it. I'm just saying
well, we can ask, we can certainly ask,
Yeah.
but if we're going to be doing that, what we really need is, I want to increase, and no one approved this with me the last time, I want to increase the amount of training budget there is. I think it should be $1,000. Because we need education, and how much of that do we use this year? It was just a conference,
250.
that was it, right, for the whole year? Well, there is a Rutgers course.
According to this one, it's.
Yeah, 250.
250.
Okay, so I can't do it because it won't justify, so we'll just let that go. Okay, so now, right now, what we're looking for is if there's a $20,000 figure there, the budget will be 68,075, is that correct? That's the total that we're voting on now?
Yeah.
$68,075, and Jessica put together like sort of
What
do you
could be
call
in
it? What
wish
what
list or
wish list for, like, what arborist duties would entail, and zoning board would be on the top. Because that's where all the plans start, I believe, planning board. Okay, so, 68,075, I'd like to make a motion, I'm assuming discussion is over. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2026 budget request for $68,075 with that one change from 7,000 consulting arborist to 20,000. Second, anybody?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, Ms. Easton,
Yes?
Ms. Irons,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Clerk Letterman's absent, Ms. Bouquet.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So now Kathy would submit the request too.
Yeah, I'll just change it and send that to both you and Denise today. And agenda is, hold on, this is the agenda. Okay, treatment and plan and pruning, we've gone over that. Inquiries, I'm sorry, I don't have a number for you, inquiries, and I apologize, but I'll send an email to you with that. I get them all different ways. Sometimes they come in an email, but I print every one so I have a record, because otherwise I can't. So, but I haven't printed all of them because some wouldn't print type thing, and anyway. But there've been like a half a dozen maybe since the last meeting, of all very basic, mostly dead trees. I have to say, mostly dead and dying trees is the most common one. Pine and oak. Member reports. I think I've given enough reports for today. And does anybody else have any particular report today that hasn't been given already?
I just wanted to mention that I did go with you on 2 occasions to look at permits. And the bottom line is it would really be helpful to have an arborist to take that off of your shoulders. The one was straightforward. It was
The storage company.
The storage company, is very, when I heard what he wanted to do, I thought, wow, but you go to the property and you see it, okay, and he was very happy to put a tree up. Now, I don't know if there's been any follow through yet with that.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. Do you know? if
I,
you put
no,
a
I
tree-
followed up. I followed up and I sent him the link to the recommended tree list and said we were available. But he was working with a landscaper already. Okay. And so we had suggested, so this is a situation where I had all these little trees, they were all ornamental something, I forget.
They were blocking.
They were blocking
Access
the
to
doors
this.
and he wanted to remove them. They're all, except for one, they were all under 6 inches deviate. So not a big deal. It didn't, but we approved it and with a suggestion, but not condition, that because he was removing so many trees, that he plant a few large trees because there's a big expanse and he was going to work with the landscaper on that. And what was the other one you saw?
Well, the other one, that was a homeowner's tree.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And,
know.
you know, I looked at that with you and, you know, it was a challenge. And the bottom line is and I pass it a lot of times.
Oh, right.
And I didn't see them taking it down, but it looked like a homemade job. But they must have had a professional take the top of it down because it was so huge. A homeowner couldn't, even if they had, you know, whatever. But
Well, the tree went down and we did
the
an
tree went
application.
down and it was definitely
That's
not
the long and short of it.
completed by a professional. I have no idea if it was started by a professional. But that's the kind of thing that the tree was alive and healthy.
Yes, that's
Historical.
they thought that the tree roots were running toward the house. They were concerned it was going to disrupt the foundation. Now we're not experts about that. I don't know that an arborist is either. Okay, but before we got back, then the tree disappeared. So that's just how it went. Yeah, and again, a lot of this is for administration to say, what authority can we imbue? I mean, any authority, I believe, has to come directly from the township. Okay, so
Any
I
action
don't have
items?
any, pardon?
Any action items?
No, any action items? I think that was the only action, was voting on the budget and the dates for the meetings, and that we will be having workshops. And we have money in the budget for that. Any other member reports, summary of action items? I'm not sure if I can do that right now.
Barbara, and
Go
go
ahead.
ahead and help her out about looking into planning over the winter about the tree hangers.
Oh, yeah, and
I
Lauren
I
will
will
look for the,
look for the-
and
I'll dig
once we
through
close the meeting, I'll
the
look and see if I
closet.
have a sample in my notebook here, because I think I do. Okay.
Okay, anyone, I said I would draft work.
Yeah, like a bullet point of what, yeah,
Specifications or.
that'd be great, that would be great. Anybody else? I will get together with Sharon and try and update those web pages. I know you and I were going to do something, because I made a note about it the last time, but I can't remember what it was.
Also, the do not plant list.
Oh, yeah,
has
I'm
not
gonna send it to,
been updated.
I know, I'm gonna send it to
It's
Laura today or
critical.
tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day where I just have to take care of my husband all day, so I'll be sending you that tomorrow, which is the do not plant. We can always continue to update it, but yeah, I'll get that to give to, I send it to you and then you send it to,
Yep, to get it posted.
okay, great. Anybody else before I make a motion to adjourn?
I was just announced there's no public comment.
There's no public comment today, no public visitors today. Well, thank you, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
So then, Lauren, you will, to everyone's